finally back.
Yeah.
We've had a lot going on.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's all right. Go ahead. I'm glad that we're finally back. It's hard for us because we work, and you work a lot.
I've been working a lot.
Yeah, so sometimes I might do this by myself just because I have a hard time getting him to sit because he's busy.
I'm the boss. I have to do everything.
Yep.
Sucks being a grown-up.
I don't like adulting. It's very hard. So like and subscribe, right? That's what we're supposed to say. But
please.
you know, yeah, it'll help everybody.
We do have a few subscribers.
I call it the complete seven subscribers.
No, we have a lot more than that.
Seven is the complete number.
The more ex-Jehovah's Witness voices that are out there, the better.
Yeah, and everybody hits differently, so.
Yeah. You might not like us.
No, it's okay.
That's cool.
Go on. It's all right. No worries. So.
But if you like us, thank you.
Yeah.
We like you too.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Thank
Most
you so
of our
much for your
comments are
time.
great.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had any bad comments.
Yeah, I've had a few, but it doesn't matter.
Oh.
Yeah, it's okay. It's part of opinions, and it's okay. I should be open.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk about honor your father and your mother.
Oh, yeah.
That was always really hard for me. So my mom was bipolar. My dad had mental illness as well. And both of them suffered from mental illness. So it was really hard when my dad died to honor my mom because she made it so hard for all of us to just live peacefully. And when I got married, she stopped talking to me for about 3.5 years. And I was devastated. I was a practicing Jehovah's Witness. I couldn't understand why my mom was behaving the way she was. She would often not talk to her mother. She'd go through long periods of time with her mother where she wouldn't talk to her. And my grandmother would always, didn't understand it as well. My mom had a very dominating personality, and when my dad died, again, she stopped talking to me because we had an interim where I had to say I was sorry for whatever I had done, that she thought I had done, and I just, to keep the peace, I always said I was sorry.
But you had nothing to be sorry for.
No, I was 23 years old. I was an adult when I got married. I didn't get married in a Kingdom Hall. I just quietly ran off and went to the courthouse and got married because we were having problems with my mother, and she wanted me to have this big, huge wedding dress and a big wedding. And then she liked to dig up information from the past. And she didn't like my husband. My dad didn't understand why I was marrying a white man. It was just really weird. And we were all Jehovah's Witnesses at that point. I mean, I was marrying a Jehovah's Witness. I didn't understand.
And our marriage wasn't going to last, but this month, we'll be married for 28 years.
28 years. It really went by really fast.
It did.
It's going by too fast.
We're gray now.
Yeah, I'm getting old, and that's okay. And in fact, I'm almost grateful that we have these videos because you get to see what you look like 6 months ago and then a year ago, and we get to see our aging. And you do too, because as Jehovah's Witnesses, we were taught that we would never, sorry.
I'm yawning.
We would never get old. And unfortunately, we have gotten old. So honoring my mother, going back to honoring my mother, it meant staying away from her.
Can I,
Yeah.
Okay. So, in the Bible, we were Bible-believing Jehovah's Witnesses at one point. Her longer than me. But in the Bible, there's a lot of black and white rules, like honor your father and your mother. But if your parents are horrible to you, how do you do that? There's a lot of gray area in the real world. You can't honor somebody who tries to destroy your life on purpose. So this is what we're talking about tonight. The things in the Bible that you think you have to be obedient to that are actually just BS.
Yeah, well, I realized that my parents had a lot of emotional trauma and abuses in their lives. And so it filtered into our family life. And unfortunately, it didn't matter what I did. If my mom didn't agree with it, it was hard for us to have a peaceful relationship. And so after a while, it was just impossible. I couldn't do it. And my beloved and my children, unfortunately, got involved. I mean, they were usually the ones that were picked on. And it's sad because both the family that were Jehovah's Witnesses and that were not Jehovah's Witnesses didn't understand how to deal with my mom or some of the problems that I would go through with her. I would try and explain it to them, and they just didn't understand it. They just would always say, well, she's your only mother, and this is how could you, when my mom was dying of cancer, how could you do that to your mom? And not everybody agrees with how I would handle that.
For those of you who are new to this channel, or maybe this is the first video you watched, Ina's mother was a covert narcissist. Very difficult human being. And she made Ina's life and Ina's father's life miserable their entire lives. So this is why Ina is explaining why it was difficult to honor her mother as the Bible told her to do.
And I didn't even know any of that. I didn't really understand. I didn't really understand what she was. I think she had a lot of different problems. And as a child, you just want mom to love you. It didn't matter. I loved my mom, even when she was absolutely impossible to deal with. But there was a point in the relationship where I realized it was affecting me. I think when I was about 23 and my dad and I were sitting on the curb and I started to cut myself. I would just kind of pinch myself to just try and feel things because I couldn't feel anything anymore. It was really hard for me to feel. And it didn't get as bad as cutting. I think it was just more like really trying to pinch my body to make it feel something. Because with my mom, it was, you couldn't express yourself. And when you did, you were not talked to or you were demonized. That was the only thing that's an only word that I can think of. My dad was usually the one that was hit the hardest. I left home at 23 and got married. And for 3.5 years, I had nothing to do with my brother, my mother, or my father. And it was actually a good growing period. I wish I had just kept that distance because later on, unfortunately, my dad committed suicide and I was present, and that was very hard for me. So as my dad, when my dad died, we tried to help my mom. After my dad had died, I could tell that she wasn't doing well mentally, and so my husband and I had come in and helped her with her bills, and she had a house in the front and a house in the back. We sometimes stayed in the house in the back, sometimes we stayed in the house in the front, depending on what she wanted. And we would help pay bills. And we of course benefited as well. We got an opportunity to stay there. But it wasn't, we paid rent, but it wasn't very peaceful, which was really sad. because we get knocks at the door at 3:00 in the morning, and if she had if she had an idea in her head and she wasn't comfortable with what somebody had said, whether it be me or Jason, then we'd have 2-hour conversations from like 12 o'clock at night till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, until in her mind it was resolved. And we said we were sorry for whatever it is that she thought we had done. So after a while, it didn't matter how much we were saving, because it became very challenging for us emotionally. And we couldn't do it anymore. And she usually was the one that said, okay, get out.
Yeah, she had a pattern of being lonely and then getting sick from her loneliness and then begging people to come and help her. And then it was about 2 years when she was all better again. She would kick those people out of the people she begged to come and help her. After 2 years, she would kick those people out of her life. And we noticed that pattern after it happened to us 3 times. So there's just no helping some people that just don't want to be helped. So yeah, it's very difficult.
It was hard.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard to go to the Kingdom Hall too, and you listen to talks that said you were supposed to honor your parents, honor your father and your mother, and that was almost an impossible. It was something that I couldn't ever actually achieve. Honoring them meant staying away from them, because together my dad ended up just blending into that soup. And when he could get himself healthy, if he continued his AA process or the meetings, he eventually came to me 3.5 years later, and he said, I'm so sorry, but your mom really loves you in her own way. And that was, just kind of pulling me back into it all, which I wanted to be loved by my mother, which was absolutely impossible. Now, did she beat me and abuse me? And, some people have terrible stories about their parents, about burning them with cigarettes or cutting them on their fingers, or, terrible abuses. No, my mom didn't do that. But my mom was emotionally abusive. So,
and sometimes that's worse than the physical abuse, because the scars last.
And you don't really understand
forever.
it.
You don't understand.
You don't have a scar to show.
No, you can look at a physical scar and you know what it's from, but when it's emotional and deep down inside and it's there forever, it's hard to deal with. And Ina's been dealing with that since she was a child.
Yeah, my parents were very violent with each other. And so I got to see that when we first got married. I didn't know how to deal with my marriage, because my marriage was so quiet. And I would be generally the one that would cause whatever it is that we were arguing about. I would be the one to do that. So it took time for me to realize that you can have a quiet marriage and it work out, and your mate isn't gonna.
She's still not used to it.
No, I'm still not. No, I still have days where I think, oh, he's gonna leave me, because that's what I saw.
Hasn't happened yet. It's not going to.
No, it hasn't. It's very nice. It's a very comforting, very comforting.
Yeah, we've grown together, and we're continuing to grow together. Especially since she left, we were talking tonight. The house has been especially more peaceful now that she's not a witness anymore. That's the only thing we ever
really
fought
bickered about. It was heated arguments.
Yeah, because there's no reasoning with a full-in Jehovah's Witness. But anyway,
I generally always wanted to punch him out.
Yeah.
So.
Back to the honor your father and your mother stuff. Life is just full of gray areas, not just black and white. Her story was a little bit different than mine. My dad was never a Jehovah's Witness. He didn't not believe it. He thought he wasn't good enough for it because he smoked and he drank. And he had a lot of emotional issues that I can look back on now and kind of figure out. But as a child, you don't know. You don't know what's going on with your parents. And so my dad was pretty much hands off when it came to raising us kids. And so he left it to my mom, and my mom was a Jehovah's Witness, so she raised us as Jehovah's Witness mothers do. And she was really intense about being Jehovah's Witness, and she still is, obviously. Hasn't talked to me for years. So how do you honor somebody who messes up your life? You don't have to. And that's the point, is there's so much in the Bible that tells you what to do, and you don't have to do those things, because life is full of gray area. The instruction, the direction that's in the Bible may not fit you, may not fit your circumstances, may not fit your life. And these are the things that I used to think about as a witness, things that just didn't make sense as I was reading in the Bible. And, you know, it was death by 1,000 cuts. It wasn't just one big thing that caused me not to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. It was all of the doubts that built up, the doubts that I didn't want to have. Because as a Jehovah's Witness, you're scared to have doubts. And when you have a mother who you raise questions to about the organization, she has no answer for you, and she just tells you that she's scared that you're even asking the questions, and yelling at you that it means your life. That was what she told me every single time that I had any questions about the organization, or any what she perceived as maybe doubts that it was the truth. You know, she wouldn't answer the questions. She would just get scared and say, it means your life. And this is nutty. This is nutty. As a parent, you're not supposed to be nutty. As a parent, you're supposed to reflect, research, guide your children in the wisest way that you can find. And of course, you're not always going to be right. You're not always going to be perfect, but to spew religious dogma at your children is emotionally harmful for their development. And that's why I always say, when I left at 30 years old, I felt like a 14-year-old kid trying to learn life again. And even today, as a 50-year-old man, there are things that perplex me, things I'm still learning in life. And I think as former Jehovah's Witnesses, we're always going to struggle a bit. We were damaged severely as Jehovah's Witnesses, and we're always going to struggle with that, I think, our entire lives. And so the point of our video today is just to point out the struggles that we had trying to honor our mothers.
Yeah, honor our mothers. And we also find, we talked about it too, that our mothers didn't really respect the men in their lives.
No.
Our fathers. So it was really hard for me to respect my father and honor my father when my mom wasn't even being respectful or kind to him.
Yeah.
Like I said, he had been disfellowshipped for at least 15 years. So during that time, my mom, I couldn't pray for my dad. So how was I supposed to honor my dad?
Because that's a Jehovah's Witness dogma for you. Any of you watching this video who've never been one of Jehovah's Witnesses, you're not supposed to pray for disfellowship people. So, and it was hard for me. I couldn't understand it. And when they would fight, I mean, they would use bitter words, really harsh, ugly things were said. And I remember that growing up. Each sibling has a different view of the family life. It's like sitting and watching an accident. Each person sees it from a different vantage point. And that is, I saw a lot of violence, and I heard a lot of things. As a kid, you shouldn't hear from your parents. We don't. We try really hard to resolve arguments
like we don't have that many arguments anymore. And even when we had differing of opinions, I always thought, I go knock on people's doors and I listen to their differences. Why can't my children listen to my husband's viewpoints? And even though I fought him on it, I still allowed that because I thought that was respectful. And I wanted my children to be respectful to their father. He was a good man. He loved them very, very much.
And I still do. So I'm very happy that I had a hand in getting my family out of this miserable cult. And yeah, I'm going to say that. It's a miserable cult. I'm not going to tiptoe around things to make people feel better. Because sometimes people just need to hear the truth and get angry and let it sink in. But you've planted a seed.
Yeah, there's so many times I wanted to punch out Lloyd.
Lloyd
or Christopher Hitchens, or who else? There's so many that I saw after a while. I just, because you would listen to them after or before Kingdom meetings before the Kingdom Hall. And I'd get so frustrated with everybody because I just want everybody to shut up. But I'm glad that none of them shut up. They kept on going and they keep on going. And I'm so very grateful to all of these men and women, Amber Scora too, these people that will write down their beliefs. And now I realize, death is something that is inevitable, unfortunately. And I can't sugarcoat it anymore for my children. I used to say that they would be able to see that person in paradise, and now
probably not.
No, it's okay.
It's okay. We know what we know, and nobody knows more than anybody else as far as what happens after death. Kind of looks like we just don't exist anymore, which we didn't exist before we were born. So just like any other organic material on this planet that has some life in it, it has a lifespan. We do too, and that's okay. But as human beings, we can do good while we're here and make the world a better place than it was when we got here.
Yeah.
And that's purpose. That's purpose.
Yeah, I enjoy that. I like that better. Mm-hmm. So I thought we'd just talk about honor, because it's something that, I think I used to struggle with a lot. Honoring your father and your mother.
Honor is earned. Honor is like respect. If somebody hasn't earned it, there's no need for you to give it to them.
Mm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you can honor them by staying away. I think sometimes
you can honor you by staying away from them.
Yeah, right. It's not something. It took great mental strength on my behalf to be around someone like my mom. I've eliminated a lot of. It's funny, as Jehovah's Witnesses, they will stop talking to you, which it's almost like it's a good thing, because your parents and everybody that is so enmeshed in that belief system, because they just are so scared for you. They kind of you have to have them away from you so that you can just kind of grow your own way. And I don't think I could have done that had I talked to my mom and my dad during the period that we were married, because they kind of always sucked us back into their problems. And it wouldn't have been good for our marriage in our first years of marriage. It was better that they didn't talk to me, even though I was brokenhearted about it. And we were both practicing Jehovah's Witnesses. Both of us were in good standing. Mm-hmm. Both of us had...
to this day, I've never been disfellowshipped or disassociated myself.
Yeah, you didn't do what I did.
No, I didn't.
I rocked it, because I thought, okay, I'm done.
But
I was always very...
I didn't do what she did because I was trying to help her out.
Right. And I have always been pretty passionate about whatever my belief system is.
And now we make videos.
Yeah. So I wanted to, let's see, where is it? I just wanted to get this out there. I have to keep my glasses on in order for me to read what's on here. It's a friend of mine by the name of Sharon Tyson Tovar, I'm sorry. And I'm just going to read what was put in here. It says, when women leave cults, they are quite often at a disadvantage because they are vulnerable and naive. Sharon Tyson Tovar is one of these women who came forward about allegedly being raped. Once she came forward, she found out that she was not alone. 2 other women have accused the same man of it. Also, the state of Ohio is prosecuting one of the women that came forward. She was a Black female police officer. We believe Erica Waters to be innocent and wonder why police officers and the Attorney General's office tried to squash the other 2 cases, because this would have helped this woman. Unfortunately, she's in prison because they didn't believe her. And she's a Black police officer. So I have the link below. I hope it gets through on YouTube. You can look at it yourself, along with the Sandusky Register, because it kind of goes into explaining how the state declines to investigate the individual, or it's very political. And so unfortunately, we know that there's a lot of
so this is a petition.
Yes, this is a petition so that it can be opened again and they can start looking at it and taking it seriously. And unfortunately, this poor woman is in prison and she didn't do anything. She didn't do anything
there's some
wrong.
corruption going on.
Corruption, yes, in the police department and all the way up. So I will put this in at the bottom of my
bottom of this
YouTube
video.
Yeah, at the bottom. You can look it up and you can see the link. And if we can get signatures, my goal is to get 100,000 signatures. I don't see why we can't. And get people to pay attention, because this woman's life is at stake. She, the particular one that is in prison, is not one of Jehovah's Witnesses, but she's a good woman. I mean, she's told the truth. I hope they clear her name, and that they really dig into what is really there and stop hiding it.
So read it, pass it on.
Yes, please, and sign the petition. That would be great. And the more signatures, the more people that read it, the more it'll start getting into the media.
Yep.
So thank you.
That's all we have for tonight.
Thank you so much. And follow your bliss.
And be good humans.
Follow your bliss and be good humans.
Does anybody know why we wave like this?
Why?
Because in some Jehovah's Witness videos, we're making fun of Jehovah's Witness videos, you have the people that are greeting the governing body or
each other on other sides of the continents.
Right, yeah, so they're smiling and waving like they're told. So that's why we wave like that at the end of our videos.
Kind of weird.
Yes.
All right.
ExJW broadcasting.
Yeah, this is our little...
This is our $high studio.
Yeah. If you could only see.
Good night.
Have a good rest of the week.
Please like and subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.